Donald Trump, who is awaiting further developments in his own document scandal, of course is gonna jump into commenting on President Biden's document scandal, bleeding, wow, the Biden think tank is funded by China. Also, a VP cannot declassify documents which are covered by the Federal Records Act, which is criminal and much tougher than the Presidential Records Act, which is not criminal. A president, me, can capital D declassify. How much information has China been given? So again, Biden is not claiming that he declassified the documents. His team is saying they had no idea they had them, and as soon as they found them, they gave them back. You are claiming that you declassified them. And let me be specific. When I say that you're claiming you declassified them, I mean that you're posting on social media that you declassified them. When you've been asked in court multiple times to give literally any evidence that you declassified any of these documents, your team has repeatedly refused to do that. I'm gonna speculate it's because they don't wanna lie in court and lose their law license. You did not actually declassify the documents. And let's be clear, even if it was shown that he had declassified some of the documents, other documents he had stolen were not his to declassify. They continually lie about this over and over and over again, but no matter how many times they do that, that doesn't make it true. And look, I wanna read one more message from his because it gets super weird. He says, Biden giving China highly classified documents would be a bridge too far. I certainly wouldn't do that. Not a good situation for our country to be in. I don't even know what he's talking about. Like, I get that most Republicans are perfectly satisfied right now to just talk about this, ignoring all of the nuance and detail that we've provided for you, and just imply, well, I guess they all do it, and so now there shouldn't be any consequences, forgetting the fact that before this scandal, they also said that there should be no consequences. And so, but for Trump, now we're supposed to imagine that he gave the documents to China. There's no evidence of that. He has the documents, he's already handed them back in. And then I certainly wouldn't do that. Why? Does this not seem, nobody was saying that you gave the documents to China, dude. What's going on in your mind right now, buddy? What are you thinking about? Because nobody was claiming that. Yeah, so what do you think?
This was so confusing to me when I first read it, and I was actually hoping that you would provide some insight, but no, it's such a weird way to live our lives these days when people like Donald Trump, who is an ex-president, can just say things and the rest of us are like, did he just make that up or is that actually based in something? Like, we have to figure out, did he just pull that out of literally nothing or is it actually based in something? And sometimes we don't know. It's very, very hard to discern. And the China thing, sure, maybe you didn't give anything to China, but you probably gave it to somebody else, Donald Trump, and like we know that. And so it's like a weird deflection, especially with that investigation still ongoing. I don't know why he's saying anything at all.
I don't know. I might still make a video, at least for social, about this, but he really likes to re-truth people who make really low quality memes for him. There's this one woman, they're all blonde women, that he retweets, and one made a meme and it said, Donald Trump gave up his life of luxury to serve his country.
Did he?
Biden gave up his country for a life of luxury. The picture is Biden standing in front of the Chinese flag. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do with any of that. First of all, Donald Trump very clearly didn't give up his life of luxury. He lives in Mar-a-Lago. He kept going there constantly. He didn't divest himself from his businesses, and he remained a billionaire as president. Joe Biden is in government right now, so I don't know how he gave up his country, but even if he did, what life of luxury is he living? He rides the MTA.
He takes the Amtrak to work. That's what he's known for. He's a man of the people, Joe Biden. Oh my God, it's
and what's the China thing? Does he live in China? Did I miss that news? I know that I've been preoccupied recently, but does he live in China?
I don't think such a crazy narrative, especially we still see Trump coming in and out of Trump Tower in New York City. He hasn't given up anything. The man doesn't know how to sacrifice anything for anyone. He would give up his own family just to save a few bucks on his taxes. We know who this person is. Who are any of them thinking that they are fooling? I have no idea.
They don't. And it's like an opportunistic meme but you guys don't want anyone to give up their life of luxury. You love that Trump is luxurious or whatever. So why are you pretending that now living like a pauper is stop lying, just constantly stop lying. But anyway, all of this is obviously opportunistic. He also retweeted this guy, Clay Travis, who says the only possible way to ensure Joe Biden has no more illegal documents from his vice presidency is for the FBI to raid all of his residences and seize anything they want, including his passports. Our democracy is at stake. Anything less and we could all die, which is a great point. Again, because this is the same thing, except for all of the reasons we gave. Like Clay Travis has to pretend so that Donald Trump will notice him, that Donald Trump hadn't repeatedly been reached out to. As if what happened was Donald Trump left government, went to Mar-a-Lago, was playing some golf, and then out of the blue, the FBI kicked down his door. Except that that's not what happened. They repeatedly, through the National Archives, through requests, through visits, tried to get the docs back, and they refused to give them. If Biden had held on to one afterward or something that we knew that he knew about and that he didn't want to give up, then you might have a point. But that hasn't happened because that's crazy, because people don't do that. I am, however, willing to compromise. Investigate him. That's perfectly fine. Also investigate him. They will continually say today on Fox News, there's obviously two systems of justice, one for Biden and one for Trump. Well, first of all, I'd ask you a question. Which system of justice would you like? Do you want there to be consequences or not? Because if you're implying that you want Biden to be investigated, then you are saying that the investigation of Trump is acceptable, or you're saying there shouldn't be any investigations whatsoever. But if you really want to make that point and have it seem to have even a like tiny shred of integrity, then you have to say that Biden shouldn't be investigated. I will be consistent, look into both of them. I think there should be far more scrutiny into presidents and former presidents. I don't think that you actually want to sign on to that though, Fox News.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I know that a similar topic is going to be coming up later on the show as far as oversight of government officials. But the thing is, there is no downside to investigating Donald Trump if Republicans actually think that he was not doing anything that he shouldn't have been doing in the first place. And the Republicans who are now asking, like, where is the big dramatic raid of the Biden residence, like what we saw with Mar-a-Lago? We didn't need one, but like you mentioned, they really just underreported the fact that Trump had been subpoenaed numerous times by the National Archives, that he had been requested of those documents so many times, and he just didn't give them up. Joe Biden, that's not what happened here. It was discovered that he had stuff and he gave it over to the authorities. And then he said, I had this stuff, I didn't know I had it. And it's done. If there's anything more that would insinuate or suggest that he has more, then I'm sure that they will look into that, as they should. But as of right now, that isn't the case.
Yeah, 100%. And again, investigate, continue to investigate. Like talk to the National Archives and have them check to make sure, which they should be doing anyway, that nothing else is remaining that hasn't been handed in. Do that.
Yeah, and I think that's a good distinction also between Republicans and Democrats. Usually, it's at least I'll say anyone watching this show is that I don't think that we're afraid of those investigations. If Joe Biden is doing something wrong, even though most of us here voted for him, we still want to know if he's doing something he shouldn't be doing. And if he is caught doing something that he shouldn't have been doing, then we will say he shouldn't have been doing that. The difference is on the other side, they will back the guy to the end, regardless of all the evidence that's being put forth against him.
Yeah, 100%. I got to read one more. So there's a lot of defenses of Donald Trump. So Kevin McCarthy, I'm gonna jump to Graphic 8, says President Trump had never been in office before, and it just left, came out. Here's an individual who spent his last 40 years in office and still had this from the vice president. So first of all, okay, yeah, it was Donald Trump's first office. He'd held it for 4 years. Are you implying, Kevin McCarthy, that 4 years is not long enough for an elderly man to learn that he can't take classified documents? Oh, you need 2 terms at least, I guess, at that point. And then he had just left, came out. No, that's the issue. He came out of the White House with boxes of classified documents. You can have an issue with the Biden thing, but they were at an office that he worked at. That sort of makes sense. Boxing them up and taking them to your personal residence, no, but nobody actually thinks that that's acceptable. Some are just willing to overlook it because they don't care about the actual law. Ronnie Jackson says, it's just been discovered that Biden had highly classified documents that were improperly stored in one of his private, well, they were locked up. Let's just be clear about that. They shouldn't have been in the office at all, but at least they were properly stored in the office. Incredible. Where is the FBI? Where is the dramatic raid? Again, you don't need the raid when you just willingly give in the documents. That's how you avoid that. That is something Donald Trump could have done. When they asked for the documents, he could have given them. You didn't want him to do that. That's what necessitated the raid.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.